Good afternoon, everybody. What? You don't like that?
No.
No, I like it.
It's hello and welcome back into the Long Shot
Sorry.
Podcast.
We'll keep that in. It's part of the process. Hello and welcome to the this portion of the podcast, the
follow through.
The follow through.
And then you can put your hand
if
up.
you're disappointed right now hearing my voice, I do not blame you. I'm back to this little segment of the podcast just because I'm still here. And yeah, I don't know what this is, but I'm excited to be here again.
Yeah, Mo has extended his stay here in Miami. We're recording this on Thursday. I hope are you leaving tomorrow?
Yes, I'm finally out of here.
Right. No, just kidding. It's been great having you here. The city of Miami as a whole has benefited from your presence, myself included. But no, it's great to have you here. You know, we did the interview with you yesterday, and then we were just sitting here kicking around. We're like, we have a follow through to do.
Yeah.
And then we're like, why would we not include?
We got changed, and now we're sitting here again.
Why would we not include Moritz Wagner for this portion as well? You know, we're going to talk a little bit less about you because, quite frankly, this isn't about you.
It's also not that interesting.
Yeah, this is about the community.
Yeah.
This is about
Duncan. It's about Duncan.
Yeah.
It is about Duncan.
No, it's about us. It's about us.
No, it's fun because essentially every week the idea is that we interview a guest on Thursday, and then Friday we get to just interview Duncan.
And this is honestly way more enjoyable. Just ask Duncan questions, about his life. And
I don't really want to make this about me as much as it is about us.
You just have to say that.
Friends shooting the shit, having a good time.
He's like, ask me all of the
Smart
questions.
Smart move.
Is there anything you want to talk about, Davis?
Yeah, well, so we should be transparent that for those of you that have been listening to the Long Shot since its inception, this will not be news to you, but we like to lock in before the playoffs.
Sure.
Go 0 dark 30.
I don't call it 0 dark 30.
Do you have a term for it?
I don't. If I did, I think it would, well, what does a 30 stand for in 0 dark 30?
30 minutes.
We should ask LeBron that.
I have no
30
idea.
days in a month.
This is probably my job as the computer guy.
But no, I
You
think
should post a picture on Instagram.
it would be
Just saying I'm
0 dark 55.
Ooh, I like that. 0 dark 30 is military slang used across the services by British and American soldiers to describe a time after darkness has fallen. 0 dark 30 is
it's a
nighttime.
little dramatic, but I mean,
So 0 dark 55 doesn't really make any sense.
It's also not nighttime. The playoffs aren't nighttime.
No.
If anything, you're wide awake.
But
Anyway.
nonetheless, we will not be doing this podcast, continuing this podcast throughout
the first round of the playoffs.
The first round, at least, of the playoffs. We might be popping back in here and there for maybe a series recap.
Updates.
If time permits and allows, which should be interesting. We kind of did that. Well, actually, did we do that last year? No,
It was only one series.
Does the long shot pod have the off season, or you just go all year
No,
round?
there is no off season.
No off season.
Well,
just
playoffs is
keep
our.
grinding.
We take a quick break. This is kind of like our podcast.
Well, it's your
off-season.
break.
True.
Yeah.
True.
We took a little hiatus in the fall as well.
Yeah, but it wasn't planned.
Yeah. That was just more of just kind of, step away from the pod.
Anyway, so
boycott.
because this is our last touch point before we lock in for the playoffs, I would like to talk a little bit about
Sure. Let's
just
do
getting
it.
ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, let's talk.
Miami Heat are the 1 seed.
Yes, we are.
So you guys have had a week off,
Yeah.
right, between your final game in Orlando, which we were all together for,
Yes, we were.
and now the playoffs. So what does it look like? What does this week look like getting ready for Sunday?
Yeah, it's a kind of a weird situation to be in, right? Because we don't know who we're playing. We now have a better feel of who we're playing. It's one of two teams. At this point, it's either the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Atlanta Hawks. Two teams that honestly play pretty different, have some similarities. So there's like some kind of crossovers that you can do in preparation. But really, it's about the Miami Heat. It's about getting better. It's about competing, iron sharpening iron, I believe is the old adage. I believe that's a biblical adage. I might be wrong on that. But anyways, practices and stuff have been good. We've been getting after it. It's interesting because during the year, and I don't know how it is in Orlando, but like we don't go live a lot in practice.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question actually because I'm new to the new playoff thing. And I'm wondering, like, I've never been in the playoffs ever in any scenario. So to me, I wonder, like, how different are practices, meetings? Do you like see a change in coaching or mentality of the coaches? How much more detail goes into these things?
Look at this guy just stepping right into his interview.
No, I think it's very
Seamless.
interesting.
That's
Those are
good.
questions I never get to ask Duncan, like on a personal level, because we have so much other bullshit to talk about.
So true.
Here's your platform.
So here's my platform to just go fire.
I mean, there's definitely increased focus, right? And I think that the NBA is tricky because you play so many games and you're really only able to take away like one or two things from each game and like try to address it and move on. If you get caught up like really unpacking every single game, you're losing out on preparation for the next game. But with a playoff series, each game requires adjustments and each game requires a different approach in a sense too, because very seldomly are you going to be able to beat a good team, especially if you're playing a good team, twice the same way, right? Like, so say some game we hit a bunch of shots from out, from three, whatever, we hit 18 threes, 20 threes. We can't rely on us doing that the next game as well. So the adjustments have to fall in like, all right, well, yes, we did that well this time, but we can't just count on us doing that again. Or, for example, like preparation on how to slow down a really good guard or a really good big. Okay, we gave them one look in game one. It like proved to kind of be effective. If we just keep giving them a steady diet of that same look over and over again, a good player, and there's a lot of them playing in the playoffs, are eventually going to adjust and figure out a way to, attack that. So there isn't definitely an increase in preparation for sure. I think the details, like the substitution patterns, like there's a playoff prep, there's an approach around like we get super specific on like, this is the menu that we need offensively. This is what it needs
this
to look
many
like
threes, take this away.
And honestly, to the point where like in the past, we haven't gotten into this level of, being thorough at this point, but like in the past, we've talked about like, we need this many shot attempts. We need this many drives. We need this person, to be, take this many threes or get this many paint attacks, like that level of detail. So everybody's on the exact same page of like, this is how we win this game.
So going along those lines, sorry to take your spot here,
Please.
interrupt me, but how much do the games that you played against that team in the regular season matter? Because I remember last year there was this thing with the Milwaukee Bucks that they would just keep winning the regular season out 60 games, and then they would struggle in the playoffs eventually. And then last year was the first year where they tried to switch things up, and against potential matchups in the playoffs, they would like change lineups differently and try stuff out, saying, okay, we might sacrifice this game, but it's almost like a preparation for the playoffs already. If we play the Heat again, we're prepared for that. How much does that really matter? Or is that different from team?
No, that's you're bringing it today, Moritz.
Fire.
No,
well, it's just very curious.
It's
because
pretty good stuff. No, and that's honestly why you're doing so well, because it's coming from a genuine place, which I appreciate. Which quite honestly, I don't get a lot of genuine
from me
takes from you. There's a lot of sarcasm in
That's
our
not
relationship.
true.
There's a lot of back and forth, which
that goes both ways.
I love, for sure, all the way. Yeah, I mean, I think that the regular season matchups tell a story, but they don't encapsulate the entirety of the story. So maybe they're a chapter of the story, I guess you could say.
Great analogy.
But for example, I'll use Cleveland for an example. Like, we learned things playing against Cleveland. They put it on us twice at least. Maybe actually, no, I think we only played them 3 times. They put it on us twice, and we had a really difficult time scoring against them. So that tells us a story of like, look, if we just come into this series against them, say we're playing them, I don't know who we're playing, but with that same approach offensively, we're going to run into the same problems, especially if someone like Jared Allen's back in the lineup, because they do a really good job of protecting the paint. So we have to be more creative around how we're going to attack. So I think it tells, it can like provide you some level of context clues, but at the same time, nobody knows how a series is going to unfold. Nobody knows the dynamics of what game 1 to 2 are going to look like, or 3 to 4. Like, things change rapidly throughout a series, and a lot of times it becomes what staff and what team is willing to buy into these adjustments, because they happen so quickly. And we always talk about like, we've been trying to build habits all year. So like blitzing, for example, we might blitz ball screens, 10 times a game, 12 times a game, which is out of 90 to 100 possessions. That's not a lot, but we work on it almost every day and walk through practice and whatever, because in a playoff series, if there's a stretch in a game where we need to blitz a guard to get the ball out of his hands, we have to have those habits instilled, because that's not something you can just turn on.
Is there anything though that you're like, you hear in the NFL all the time, like teams are, not hiding plays, but like they aren't showing their full arsenal. So I understand that you want
Yeah.
to rep things out so that you have some familiarity, but is there looks, is there schemes, things that you're not showing completely until the playoffs, or there always has to be some,
I would say so, right?
warm-up
You
to
guys are a
little
pretty
bit.
X's and O's heavy team. I would
Yeah.
say so that certain plays you not pulling out in the first series if you think you having something successful going on.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, and I'm not going to disclose like too much here, but like maybe in terms of like this one is unique because we didn't necessarily know who we were going to play in the first round, but like if you're playing a team late in the season and then there's a potential for you to also line up in a playoff matchup, then maybe you don't like pull all your cards. I don't, in this case it didn't necessarily line up that way. I guess Atlanta potentially, but like that was also kind of a different circumstance. But yeah, I mean a little bit I guess there is some kind of wiggle room there, and that could be something that you do, but it's not something that we've like consciously talked about.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of the play-in, how awesome have those games been?
I mean, that and the rule change about being able to flop on threes and shots and draw fouls on shots are the two best things the NBA has done in the last 10 years, in my opinion. Just the playing game, like this week got me hyped.
Yeah.
These games matter, and it's just one game. Like, it's amazing to me.
And I know there's been some polarizing takes on the Minnesota stuff.
Yeah.
But I actually,
wow.
Our co-worker of sorts, JJ Redick, I thought actually had a great take in terms of those guys care. The city cares. That matter. It means a lot. And there's also the interesting side of that too is I feel like this is an antiquated take and something that I think is just stupid, but some people are like, oh, well, NBA players don't care enough. They're just out there going through the motions. No one plays defense, which is obviously not true for anyone that's actually like been close enough to an NBA game to like feel really a part of it. But those guys cared. And we spent all this time talking about how NBAs don't care, and now they're getting shade and people are coming at them for caring, quote unquote, too much. It's like, all right, well, clearly you can't win if that's the case.
I want to talk about that woman that glued her wrists to the. That was my
Yeah,
takeaway from that game.
What's your take?
How creative is that?
Do you
Wait,
think
what
that
happened?
She ran on the floor. It was a protest of some sort. They didn't show it because they never do. But she ran on the court and glued her wrist to the ground.
That must have been some
Tried to.
fast acting glue.
Well, it
I
didn't
don't
work.
think it was successful.
But she would resist taking the arms off.
Wow.
Yeah. And it took a while to get the glue off the ground. I
What
guess.
was the protest?
I think it was Ukraine.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We couldn't see it. I mean,
Well,
they do
that's
a
one
good
we
job
can
of
all
like
get
not
behind.
showing it.
I think it was a real momentum shifter for the city of Minnesota,
I mean,
though.
it worked out for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed.
I mean, they won the
missed that
game.
headline.
Maybe
she
they-
deserves a little credit.
Maybe they send her out. Like, go out there. We need some momentum here. Stop the game. We don't have no timeout.
Yeah,
So
Clippers going on a run.
glue yourself to the ground real quick.
I do think the play-in was an awesome move by the NBA. I think last year there was some voicing out against it because of, I think people like early on as like 7 and 8 seeds are like, well, this is unfair. But once it becomes like the new normal, I think everybody is able to get on board. Of, like,
Also,
this
if
is
you're the 9th seed, you're like happy. So
Yeah.
that's how sports goes.
right.
Here is the one downside, I think, is that you guys get penalized for being the one
Great
seed.
point. Great point.
I mean, kind of.
You're now 3 days away from your first
Okay,
round
but-
game, and you don't
But
know
David,
who you're
how much
playing.
you gonna prepare for like what?
Yeah, I mean, like, yes and no. Look, here's the other side of that too, is that we have the advantage of now we're at the point, like we practiced today. Today's Thursday. We practiced today, and we knew it was either going to be Atlanta or
Yeah.
Cleveland. And honestly, at this point, we're not even really doing that much scout-specific stuff. We're more like kind of like themes of like guards that have the ball in their hands a lot. Darius Garland, Trae Young, like both those guys. There's carryover there. And the other side of it is think of the video coordinators and coaching staff of those two teams. They're trying to get ready for a winner-take-all
True.
single game. The last thing they're thinking about right now is the Miami Heat. Like they're just trying to extend their season 2 more days and get to the first round of the playoffs. So, yes, I guess you could say we're at a little bit of a disadvantage, but at the same time, it's like
You'll take that advantage.
Yeah.
Disadvantage at your house in Miami. You know, you at the crib, you chilling for a week,
Yeah,
working
true.
out, getting healthy, all that stuff.
And not to mention,
buys your time too, right?
They just went through the ring. I mean, they played.
Yeah.
They'll have played
True.
by the time we play. Finish the game on Sunday. They'll have played 3 games in whatever it is, 5 days.
Yeah.
Well, your whole
6
week.
days. Yeah. So and whereas we've been been able to rest so we've been afforded advantages as well. It's not as I kind of hear what you're saying, but like I actually like this idea of like all we have to do is just win game 1. Like all we're trying to do right now is prepare for game 1. That's what this week is about. Do we have enough to win game 1? And if we're able to wrap our mind around that, then the adjustments come game 2, game 3, so on and so forth. But anyways, just all about game 1.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, you have any other playoff questions? I want to pivot. Did you hear?
Talking to the mic, please, Mo.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we need to be
I'm
better.
an amateur.
We need to be better at that ourselves.
You're
but
looking
also
at 2
reminding
professionals.
guests.
This is not a hobby, fellas. This is not a hobby.
We're the professionals.
Look at this
Let's
place.
do
Oh,
it.
my bad.
Can't make this up. Did you hear Jeff Van Gundy slandering your
No, you
name?
told me about it.
What happened?
And I didn't appreciate that, Jeff. I hope you know
What-
that.
You haven't heard the clip?
No.
So Duncan got a block. This was like a week or 2 ago.
When we played the Celtics in Boston.
You blocked somebody?
Yeah, I blocked Jaylen Brown.
That one.
Came over from the weak side.
Easy money.
Unsuspecting offensive player.
It was
It's like
all-
basically
all
what
play.
Robert Williams does for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It
athletic.
was Bam Adebayo-esque.
Oh, it honestly was. Well,
No,
so
it wasn't. He
Jeff-
didn't even know I was there, and I got a hand on it.
right,
Block
that's
is a block, first of all.
so much of defense is being in the right place.
Yeah.
You were in
right
the right
time.
place to make the play.
Thanks, man.
Anyway, Van Gundy went on this spiel about how it's unacceptable to get blocked by a guy like Duncan. You should go into like a penalty box. And so they spent, I'm not kidding, they spent
That's
Really?
theatrics. That's performance.
It
No,
is.
of course. I mean, he does a great job with
Mo,
that,
they
though.
spent 3 minutes on it.
Didn't you say they came back
Went to
from
commercial break, came back, and had a list. They had a list
That's
of
the
guys.
point that's disparaging, that you're going to come back
Right.
after commercial and just still bring it up
Yeah.
That's amazing.
unsolicited.
They had a
That
list of
is-
guys they read off that he had blocked this year. It was like Alex Caruso. And then Van Gundy would be like, Caruso. I was like, I can't believe Alex Caruso. It was just,
The game must have been very boring if that's what they were talking
it
about.
wasn't, though. It was a good game.
It was a good game.
Yeah,
It was
you guys
really good
wanted-
game.
We played
Yeah, but-
ourselves, I think, so I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I just watched Max Strus locking up in the last 4 minutes. I think they went in it like
Yeah.
every possession. He got
Yeah. Yeah,
stop
kills.
after stop.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean, what were some of the other names? Alex Caruso. I don't want to hear it.
A guy- guys that you had blocked. I don't know. I don't know those. But my
LeBron.
my
Yeah,
question,
sure.
Anthony Davis,
Kevin
LeBron,
Durant,
Anthony
Kevin
Edwards,
Durant.
John Morant.
Yeah.
My question for you guys is: does that mean anything? Like, do you just look at that and you're like, that's just theatrics, or is part of you like, what the hell?
I mean, I think anytime somebody that has a platform has your
Yeah,
name
sure.
in their mouth, that you like, I heard about it from you. That was like one of the first things you said to me after the game.
Yeah, because it.
So
Mostly because you wanted to like kind of repurpose it for podcast content, and I think I
course.
vetoed it at that point.
That's how I think.
and now
first.
it's somehow made its way
Yeah.
onto the podcast, which is not surprising.
I
at all.
think you can limit your intake on those things.
for sure, absolutely.
Like no Twitter. I don't have Twitter on my phone. I don't even
Yeah.
know my password anymore.
Yeah.
So if I'm active on Twitter, that's not me.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. No Instagram, who you follow. But I will say last year I was watching a game and it was the Celtics and I had just been traded there for Daniel Tice. And I think I texted you.
Yes, you did. Yes.
And Jeff Van Gundy was there. He was like blown away by that trade, how they could make that trade. And you're in a weird situation because you're trying to like, I don't know, work the group a little bit, like include yourself into the team chemistry late in the
Yeah.
year in a playoff team. And then you hear Jeff Van Gundy like how he can't believe they made that trade for Mo Wagner because, and that is a little weird, but I mean, it's also like not your fault. So what you supposed to do?
I would be interested to ask those guys, because obviously, I mean, those guys are really good at what they do. But I do think that there is something that comes with when you're in any profession or any hobby, whatever, for so long, and you're like so entrenched in what you're doing, that I can imagine, because I've done this in a different sense, in a different kind of avenue arena, of like you lose perspective sometimes over like what it is you're
For sure.
saying.
For sure.
And
So
like-
there's a significance too.
I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt on this stuff. Like, I understand. I don't think that he's coming from like a
Yeah, it's not
harmful
malicious.
place. First off, second off, I know I've said this a bunch, is like that's part of what comes with the territory as entertainers, because that's what we are. We're entertainers.
We.
And
Yeah, I mean, Also,
Yeah,
it's
you're-
funny. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about it for a reason. It's hilarious.
100%.
True.
I'm
here's
sure
the thing.
people at home are like kind of chuckling and slapping their knee, like, yeah, Jeff Van Gundy really
What a
just got a
zinger.
nice jab in at Duncan Robinson.
All right, well, here's the thing. You are 6'7",
yeah,
soaking wet. When you wake up, you're maybe 6'8".
Yeah,
Don't you wake
sure.
up a little taller?
yeah, you do, especially if you're well adjusted. If you have a chiropractor that you see frequently,
Right.
I can add a half an inch or
It's true. And you have a plus wingspan.
yeah, I do.
So let's not act like it's shocking that you can block somebody. I actually dug into the numbers a little bit.
You crunch some numbers.
Crunch some
Leave it to
numbers.
Dave.
So we can go per game or totals. Per game, you have as many blocks as Donovan Mitchell,
How about that, huh?
more than Chetty Osman,
All right,
more than Keldon Johnson,
that one's surprising.
right? Yeah.
Interesting.
On the season,
More than Keldon Johnson.
Yes. On
Dave's
the
just always trying to paint me in a positive
Well, here's the
picture,
thing.
and I just appreciate
Here's the
that.
thing,
Wow.
Jeff. If we're going to slander my co-host for blocking somebody,
Yeah.
like, let's acknowledge that this isn't shocking.
Yeah,
Also, I've
nice.
never
Well,
seen him block.
When's the last time
anyone,
we
so-
slandered Donovan Mitchell for blocking somebody?
That's true.
or-
If Donovan Mitchell or
getting blocked.
Keldon Johnson got a block in a game,
Thank
there's
you.
no way that diatribe that he went on would ensue afterwards.
Even Chetty Osman.
Yeah. Did you use?
It's not a race thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that why you
Yeah,
mixed
that's
in
what I-
Chetty?
Wasn't
That's a
Chetty
good-
Osman also hurt for a long time this year?
No, but he said per
But
game.
this is per game.
Oh, my
so
bad.
now totals, if we're going to look at totals, because then you have to think about games played. But what I did is I looked at totals and guys who are in the same general range of games. You have more blocks than Malik Beasley.
Wow.
You have more blocks than Moritz Wagner.
I knew that was gonna. That's not. I have like 12.
Unbelievable.
He's got 14.
I'm sorry. This is a lot of research. Did you write a dissertation on this or what?
I was fired up.
I love that.
You're not going to come at my co-host like
I
this.
appreciate.
All right,
that.
I'll take charges though, so that counts for blocks.
True. All right, fair enough.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. It's the same thing, and they get a
It's
foul.
actually not the same thing. I mean, I do admit that a charge is the best turnover to force.
You
Actually,
also-
that actually could be disputed also because it's a dead ball turnover.
My thing is, if the block itself. Okay, this is about to be a hot take.
And this is such. I already know where
I
this
know
is
where you're going
going,
to.
and it's such a biased take because you're not a shot blocker.
Right.
But
100%.
continue.
Well, we talked about this yesterday.
However, I do think that the block itself is one of the most overrated stats in basketball. That sounds stupid because I don't block a lot, but I will say that just contesting shots and changing shots matters way more. The best shot blocker in the league averages 2.1, 2.3 blocks a game. That is not an astonishing number.
Yeah.
The way he controls or manipulates the shots, that's more impressive, I think. Sometimes you don't even get the ball for blocking a shot. It's just like a rebound.
But could you argue that blocked shots per game suggests also, like, if you're blocking a lot of shots per game, that would also suggest that you're a good rim protector in general?
100%.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, what if you're such a rim protector that guys aren't even going at you as much? Therefore, you have less block shots.
Well, there's still going to be attempts in the paint, Davis.
What I
It's
mean,
not like-
Yeah. I mean,
you're saying that people fear you. I mean, I
if
will
you're-
say, okay,
if you're clogging the
someone
lane-
like Rudy Gobert, that's somebody
sure,
that you
guys
like,
aren't going to go at him
have
as
to
much.
scheme for and scheme around.
Do you guys
Like,
know who's leading the league in blocks per game?
I do know that.
wait, let me guess.
Go. I don't know, but I'm gonna guess.
There's 3 guys who are over 2 a game,
Rudy Gobert is one of them.
but he's third.
Robert Williams.
Second.
Rob Williams. Wait. Jaren Jackson.
Jaron
Correct.
Jackson.
Jaren Jackson had a
They're
great.
all right. Jaren Jackson 2.3.
That was pretty good. That was a
Robert
good
Williams 2.2. Rudy Gobert 2.1.
It's like one of the first players with like, or
Yeah.
one of 20 players in NBA history with 100 and 100.
effort. Look at
100 threes and 100 blocks, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've had this discussion with myself a lot. I will say
that. Do you have that out loud when you have this, or just in your head?
Well, I talked to Franz about it too because he's obviously a wing defender, and a pretty good one too.
Yeah, he is.
And he does. We talk about the Defensive Player of the Year award, and he said something very interesting to me the other day. It's kind of messed up that I talk about what he said now without him being able to defend himself, but he said that it's way easier to win a Defensive Player of the Year award as a big guy than as a guard and wing because you're always in the action. And players like Rudy Gobert, without taking any credit away, obviously, but that guy will, because he's such a good rim protector, will always be in the paint.
Yeah.
Where Mikal Bridges is working his butt off all game, but sometimes they just make plays or you get screened. And the impact is not, I don't know, evaluated by stats as much, I guess. So I think that does make a difference. And when you look at defense, right? Like Rudy Gobert, all he does is in the paint.
That's fair.
Well, in fairness to Rudy, he does it
No. I'm
really
not saying
well.
that in a
I
negative way.
do agree that a lot of the next level defensive metrics favor big men. I think that's,
100%.
I don't even know if that's like can be disputed. But I also think that it is time for the Defensive Player of the Year award to be rewarded to a guard or a wing, mostly because it's such a guard and wing oriented
100%.
league.
Like Marcus Smart has changed this season by the way they guarding, and he leads that.
Yeah, I mean exactly. He's the best defender on the best defense, I think, or at least one of the best defenses.
It sounds like it's going to be him or Mikal.
It should,
Yeah,
as it should. I
very
mean,
good,
in my
yeah.
opinion, as it should. By the way, again, I don't want to take any credit away from Rudy Gobert. I've seen this guy literally protect the paint by himself, where guards do not want to enter the paint
And
anymore.
there's my point about maybe his blocks could be higher. But
The
he's
interesting
just
thing
scaring people.
around
That's a good
Rudy
point.
is that he allows you to create an entire defensive scheme
Yeah.
around him.
where you pressure up.
For example, like the Celtics can switch everything, but they can't do that just because they have Marcus Smart. They also have other good defenders that are
a great
capable of
point.
switching. Rudy Gobert, you can develop an entire scheme around. We're just going to take everybody off the 3-point line. We're going to run at every single shooter, basically.
Yeah.
We're going to force you to dribble inside the arc, and we're going to force you to score at the rim. And he just sits there. And the other side of it, too, like I know everyone comes at him because, the series he was playing off the floor with the Clippers or whatever, but it's also like he also has provided a lot of those wing players a buffer an entire season, and that's their scheme to have him sit in the paint. So now all of a sudden, yeah, they play small and they're shooting threes, whatever, he gets played off the court, but like that's what
That's
he's
not his
supposed
fault.
to do.
Yeah, that's not
what
his
he's
fault.
supposed to do. Is my point.
100%.
We were talking about, I just think this is so interesting because you guys see this so much, obviously. But we were talking about this morning, how with Robert Williams in Boston, they can do the same thing. Where you were explaining they just put him on a shooter
On a
or
non-shooter.
non-shooter. They let him hang out, protect the rim, and then they can switch everything.
It's
with the other
incredible.
4 guys.
I don't know how
He switches too, though.
He does
He'll
switch,
switch
but
on
like what they do,
They
when
put
you
him on the guy who's not going to be involved in the action.
exactly
basically.
a non-shooter, mostly a non-shooter
Yeah.
or whatever. And Minnesota is a perfect example. I watched that game and they did not put him on Cat.
Put
They
him on, yeah.
But with Grant Williams on Karl Anthony Towns, and he's also not a shot blocker. Just roams around the paint. He he has perfect timing. So he'll guard the corner, and then he'll just be there when the shot goes up, and you don't even see him coming. Like his presence is, to me, it's pretty impressive. I remember playing the Celtics, and I mean, obviously we were lost a lot this year since we were a very young team. We don't really know yet what we're doing, but that team defensively is a different beast.
Whereas you guys are totally different with someone like Bam.
Well, that was actually something that I've actually been asked about in media in terms of because we switch so much, you can actually, when a team switches like that, you can scheme somebody out of being in the action defensively. Like, for example, sometimes when we play the Bucks, we don't want Drew Holiday guarding the ball, so we find a way to get him in the corner and guarding the guy in the corner, whatever. And it's the same thing. Like Bam is such a unique and talented defender that a scheme could be, and we've seen it throughout the course of the year, is all right, run a dribble handoff, have him switch, and then have him sit in the corner or have him be out of the play. And now all of a sudden, the potential defensive player of the year or a candidate is no longer able to have his impact felt as much. Obviously, Bam still finds a way to make an impact, but it is interesting.
There's stuff you guys can do, though, right? Like I've seen times this year
Yeah,
where
there's other schemes.
you guys will, on the backside or on the weak side, you'll like switch.
Yeah.
You'll invert
Fix
the
it,
help
whatever.
and-
Yeah. I mean, like Boston they're a really good example of that. They do it really well. I mean, every team actually does it that switches. You just kind of fix it on the backside and kick the smaller guy out and have the bigger guy stay as the low man or be in the paint. So there's ways to do it, but it's still not. It's different than the traditional idea of like your biggest defender protecting the paint, because so much about defense in the NBA today is about protecting the paint. Everyone wants to talk about threes, but it's still the best defense is protect the paint.
Yeah.
100%.
Like Milwaukee, they protect the paint.
We talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about. We both talked about it. Everybody's talking about 3-point percentages, and Milwaukee has been winning the most games in the last 4 years by not solely, but like that's their main staple.
Yeah.
Have people shoot threes. We're okay with that as long as you're not scoring in the paint.
Yeah. Take
We'll
away the best
away
shooters.
the best shooter.
Let the other guys.
I'm
shoot.
pretty
that-
sure the Miami Heat led the NBA in paint defense this year, but whatever.
Whoa.
We're at least top 3.
He said, "Don't slander my name."
Yeah.
I
Well, it
mean-
wasn't my name. It's more the Miami Heat organization.
Can't give you too many flowers.
It's the
on this
name on the front,
podcast.
man.
It's already
Name
your
on the back.
podcast. Can't just.
All right,
That's true.
I have another end of regular season award question for you. So, defensive player of the year, we touched on. Scoring title. Why doesn't the scoring
Great.
title go to the guy who scores the most points total in the season?
It's a great point.
Every other sport, baseball, it's the home run leader. Football, it's the passing yards leader, the rushing yards leader over the season. If you put the ball in the basket the most over a season, you should be the scoring champion. Do you know who that is this year?
Is it Trey?
It's Trey Young.
Jokic.
Trae Young.
Trey Young?
Trey Young. Second,
Jokic.
DeMar DeRozan.
Wow.
And then Joel Embiid.
I'm a huge believer in, especially when it comes to like availability is such an asset. And that's what a lot of that speaks to is if you score the most per game and you play the most games, obviously you're going to be the scoring champion. So I actually agree with you. I agree.
This is shout out to Jack Mackey, my friend from Wesleyan, because he sent me some of this data. We were texting back and forth about it, and he said since the NBA merger, there have been 11 times that the scoring champion did not score the most points in a season.
Yeah.
So a
that's
lot of the
problem.
time it is the same person, but not always.
Well, not this year.
Not this year. And before this year, most recently it was 2016, where I think Steph was the scoring champion, 30 a game. But James Harden had scored more over the season.
Yeah. At that point, it's also like potato. They both deserve it in a way. Like,
Well, yeah, but winning a scoring title is a big deal.
is it?
I think it is.
I guess when you
that
score,
Like,
like
feather
you-
in the cap.
for sure. This stuff doesn't really matter, but when
Yeah,
you're
I don't really
talking about legacy and all this stuff,
Well, when does it get? I mean, scoring title is announced already. Obviously announced. It's pure
people
math.
know, yeah,
But like, those awards get announced when in like 3 months.
yeah.
I already forgot how the season went at that point. You know,
That's
I'm
true.
already like full prep mode for the next year.
They should, because at this point, everyone could have a vote in for all this stuff, and you could give these awards out.
I'm
before the playoffs.
confused because I used to think that they came out right in this little stretch before
Yeah,
the playoffs.
it
But
used
then
to be in like first playoff round, Derrick Rose and all these pictures in front of all these people getting the MVP after the second game of the playoffs or something like that. Now it's during the TNT.
they do the NBA awards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where the player definitely knows beforehand too, because it's only him who shows up.
Right.
So it's like not even a big deal at that point. I don't know.
That's a good take. We've talked about some rules we would change. I think
Yeah.
that's another one. I think the other one, which is a no-brainer, which I think you brought up earlier in the show, is that earlier in the show, as in like months ago,
Yeah, maybe a year ago.
is that if you shoot beyond half court as the buzzer expires,
No brainer.
it should not count as a 3-point attempt
Correct.
unless it goes in. Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous. Guys, watch an NBA game. No one will shoot behind half court before the buzzer goes off.
That's not true.
They will
Some
wait
people do it.
until the buzzer goes off, and then they'll let it go.
But that's also, I don't know, but like that's also responsibility of the players because you let the stats dictate your game. If
True.
that's why
That's a
you're
fair
not
take.
shooting, then you're not playing for the right reasons. I think in free agency, I mean, I'm not a GM or a scout, but I doubt then that when they evaluate free agents, they definitely don't look at 3-point attempts from behind the court. They take those out. There are metrics you can do that with. So I've talked to a scout and with the Magic. They said when we look at 3-pointers, we only think, all right, this guy, what role is he going to play? We only need spot up shots. We look at spot up threes, whatever it is, dribble threes. We can all do that. We don't look at the number that says on your ESPN profile. Ain't nobody looking at that except for yourself.
I agree with that in terms of when it's time to get a job or time to get paid, but it allows the media or all these other people to create a narrative that is inaccurate.
But
And
if
which
you,
holds weight.
again, if that,
Yeah.
but why does it hold weight? Because you let it hold weight.
Well, because I mean,
I guess you guys are the media. So
as a consumer,
Hey, whoa,
as a consumer society, we determine what has value because that's where we put our money and eyeballs. So if we're turning on First Take and giving Stephen A. a platform,
that's your fault for turning on First Take, in my opinion.
but whether or not the three of us stop tuning in, he has a platform.
That's okay. I don't care.
No, you know what? I
But
actually
he's
like
able
your
to
take.
he's able to shape the opinions of the public.
But that's their fault. I don't care what they think of if I shoot a half court shot or not.
I mean, I agree with that. In a great world, yeah, nobody, you don't care what anyone thinks, and you focus on your own mat, and you're a Zen yogi, and all these things. But the
I'm
point
not.
being is that's.
I mean, look at your bookshelf. It's like the Buddha's bookshelf over there. It's unbelievable.
But it's that to just say like, oh, well, I don't care what anyone thinks all the time.
I'm not saying that.
I'll be human enough to admit
I'm not
I try
saying-
to care less about what people think, but we're all human to the point where there is always going to be some weight in others' opinions of yourself.
True. But I like your take that players could just be the ones that just start launching them, and some people do. I'll give credit. I mean, some people do.
I haven't launched a single one this year, so I'm a
It's
hypocrite.
very rare.
I'm being a hypocrite. But
And look, let's just be honest. You guys are in an entertainment industry. We want to see more half-court shots go in.
True.
So if everyone knew this isn't going to count against me unless it goes in, people would make sure to get them up. And then we'd see a couple half-court shots a week, and it would be amazing.
That's a good point.
I guess, yeah.
So that and scoring
I
titles.
mean,
should go to the person who
you'll
scores
get
the most.
credit for when you make it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or they should just be their own statistical category.
of course. Let's
Yeah.
just make everything a.
Field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, half-court percentage.
Okay.
We've almost seen it. Dame one year was
Right.
shooting like
That's what I'm saying.
44% from like
The logo.
15 feet beyond the 3-point line.
That's
All right,
insane.
you got to go. But
Yeah,
That was it?
yeah, we're wrapping up. But
is there anything else?
I could do this all day, guys. This is
Any
fun.
This was
wisdom
fun.
you want to leave us with?
no, I mean, dude, I'm fired up.
Guys, this feels like sort of the conclusion of maybe
Season 2.
Yeah, maybe of some sorts.
So leave
Yeah.
the room real quick. You guys make this emotional.
I just
Yeah.
want to say to the long shot community, appreciate you being a part of this journey.
What a journey
It's
it's
meant a
been.
lot, and be on the lookout for a whole lot more coming your way.
Yeah, we'll be back soon.
Cheers.